Hello everyone, so today we are gonna talk about a visa residence option of a Filipino spouse. We have three visa options that is available for a Filipino spouse if they are trying to live in the Philippines or to retire there for good. So let's talk first about the Balikbayan visa. So Balikbayan visa is the easiest one, cheapest one, and a free one. Actually, it's a free visa. So all you need to do to use the Balikbayan visa is if you go into the Philippines, if you arrive in the Philippines, make sure to ask the officer in charge that you are using a Balikbayan visa, because they're not gonna give it to you right away, if you don't ask for it. Anyways, for you to be able to avail this, you have to present a marriage certificate that you're supposed your Filipino wife should be there too, and you're supposed to present the marriage certificate, and if you have kids, a birth certificate or an adoption if the kid is adopted. One good thing about this visa is it's free. It's a 1-year stay in the Philippines, which you can extend to 1, 2, or 6 months extension for this one. And so this would be like a temporary thing, and the countries covered by Balikbayan program, I'm gonna display it on the screen for you guys. So this visa here, if you are just planning to just stay for a year in what you call that, in the Philippines, so it's only have it for a year and they have this extension. So if you are planning to live there for 10 years, 5 years, it's gonna be so, I think, inconvenient to just always go to the office to always extend your Balikbayan visa. So this would be like a temporary thing. You could get this Balikbayan visa if you're just planning for vacation, I think, for a long vacation in the Philippines. You can always live yearly. You can always travel yearly if you have that kind of budget. But if you are planning to stay there for good, this visa is gonna be inconvenience, because you have to go to the office for extension every time. So this would be, I think, your way of planning to apply for another visa while you're there, which is a 13A visa. Anyways, the benefits of the Balikbayan visa is you can have a tax exempt for the maximum purchase of 1,500, and exemption from travel tax if you stayed in the Philippines for less than a year. So if you stayed more than that in the Philippines, you're gonna be applied for a travel tax. So we're gonna proceed to number 2, which is the 13A permanent residence visa, which is under the Philippine Immigration Act of 1940. So this visa, you can have this for your application. It's like here in the US, it's kind of like the green card system. So the 13A is the first time you applied for it, it's gonna be like good for a year, and then after it expires, you're gonna have to apply for it, and it's gonna be good for 10 years. So this is the visa that would be very convenient for people that just want to stay in the Philippines for good and not to bother to plan for travel every year if they have the balikbayan visa. So I will put the countries that's gonna be applicable for the 13A visa here on the screen. There's a lot of countries here, so I also gonna give you the link of the website so that you can check it by yourself. So to be able to apply for 13A residence visa, you need to appear personally. You have to be there. You have to have the 2 copies of visa application, 2 photocopies of your passport, 2 photocopies of your spouse's passport, original and photocopy of your birth certificate, and original photocopy also of your Filipino spouse's birth certificate. And you have to have the original and photocopy of your marriage certificate. And if you guys are married in the Philippines, you should have a marriage certificate that is by the NSO or PSA. Or if you were married here in the States or any other country, you should have a report of marriage. For that, you can get the report of marriage on your embassy or consulate near you. And you have to have a recent photograph. So you have to have evidence that you will be able to support yourself when you live in the Philippines. So you have to have to show some bank statement of your account. And also you will be interviewed by a visa officer, and you're gonna have also medical examination for this kind of visa. So this visa, the first time you apply for it, it's gonna take you for a year, but then after that you're gonna be good for 10 years for your second application. It's kind of like here in the United States for their green card. You know, the first one, your green card is good for 2 years, and then the second one is good for 10 years. So it's kind of like that. So this might be the payment for the visa that they have. This might have changed, but it would cost you about $400 for the application. I'm not sure about this, but let's just give it an estimate of the payment of the application. It's something like that. So it's not bad, you know, for you to be able to not to be going all the time to the embassy for your visa renewal or, you know, extension. This would be a great, I think, the good choice for visa if you are planning to really settle in the Philippines for good. So one advantage also that is good about this 13A visa is you can own a personal property. I know foreigners cannot own land in the Philippines. They can have a lease of the land for up to 50 years, but they cannot, they're not allowed to own a property. And now that we're done with the 13A visa, we're gonna proceed to the third one, option of your visa application that you can have if you plan to settle in the Philippines, which is the SSRV or SSR visa. Visa or the special residence retirees visa is a special non-immigrant visa for foreign nationals who would like to make the Philippines their second home or investment destination. So this visa is not required you to have a Filipino spouse. You can actually have this visa when you invested. We'll talk about that later. But this visa is not requiring you to marry a Filipina or to have a Filipina spouse for you to acquire this one. So we have option of SSR visa. One is SSRV Smile. This is for active, healthy retirees who opt maintain this SSR visa deposit of $20,000 in any PRA accredited banks. So we have the SRRV Classics, which is a visa deposit into active investment such as purchase of condominium unit or a long-term lease of house and lot. So if you are 50 years old and above, you should have a $10,000 deposit in a PRA accredited banks, and that's if you have pension. And if you don't have pension, you should have a $20,000 deposit in the PRA accredited bank. So if you are 35 to 49 years old, you should have $50,000 US. So if you are 35 to 49 years old, you should have $50,000 deposit or a $50,000 value of a property, and you should have a pension of at least $800 to $1,000. And we have also the SRRV Human Touch. This is for alien 35 years old and above who need or require a medical care. So they should have a monthly pension of at least $1,500, and they should have health insurance, and they should have an SRRV deposit of $10,000. We also have the SRRV Courtesy. This one is for former Filipinos. So these are for Filipinos who get the citizenship from other countries and they like to settle in the Philippines through SRRV. So for 35 years old and above, and for foreign nationals 50 years and above, should be recognized by the DFA by having a visa deposit of $1,500. So it's only $1,500 for the SRRV Courtesy, because this one is Filipina, former Filipino nationals. That's why it's not that much compared to the other deposit. So we have also the SRRV Expanded Courtesy. So this is for foreign national 50 years old and above who are retired armed forces officers. They should have a monthly pension of at least $1,000 and a visa deposit of $1,500. So SSRV is issued by Bureau of Immigration and under the retirement program of the Philippine Retirement Authority or PRA. So it entitles the holder to multiple entry the country and right to stay permanently and indefinitely in the Philippines. So who can apply the SRRV? A retiree who applies for SRRV has an option to enroll for the program based from his retirement status. So this one, you can apply for it as long as you have the deposit required and you have the pension that is required based on the option that we have on the SRRV option. So here is the retirement option and the required time deposit here. I'll put it on the screen. And what is the validity of SRRV? The holder of SRRV may reside in the Philippines without securing an extension of his stay. So this is the difference here, SRRV and the balikbayan visa. So if you, well, they are really different because balikbayan visa, you have to have a Filipino spouse. But SRRV, all you have to have is investment. So you don't have to extend your stay in the Philippines. You can exit, you can come in anytime you want, as long as you are in this program. SRRV holder own a real property in the Philippines. It says no. They cannot own a real property in the Philippines, but they can have a condominium. So where do I get approval of the SRRV? The approval of your application will come from Bureau of Immigration and the pre-evaluation of the PRA. So having this SRRV, you're gonna go through two agencies, which is the PRA and the Bureau of Immigration, or BI. So how long is the processing time of the SRRV? Processing time will take 7 to 10 working days. So this is very quick. Can spouse and unmarried minor children be granted of the indefinite privilege in the resident? Yes. So if you are a SRRV holder, your wife and your children can also be under your application as a dependent. Is there additional deposit for unmarried children? Yes, they are. $15,000 more for the deposit if you have an unmarried children. So what are the benefits of SRRV? This would be great because you have to weigh your option if you are planning to get the SRRV visa. So one of that is permanent non-immigrant status, multiple entry and exit in the Philippines. Exemption from custom duty and taxes for importation of personal effect. Exemption from exit clearance and re-entry permits. Exemption from payment of travel tax if you didn't stay more than a year in the Philippines. But if you stayed more than that, then you are applicable to travel tax. Conversion of the requisite deposit into active investment, including a purchase of a condominium unit. So remember the qualification deposit that they have? You can actually use that money instead to buy a condominium, and that should be active deposit or active investment in the Philippines. Interest on the foreign currency deposit is tax-free. and payable to retiree in Philippine peso. So the money that you deposit in the bank, accredited bank of PRA, is actually tax-free. And whenever I think you wanna withdraw it, it's gonna be in a Philippine peso conversion, and you have no interest on that. It's tax-free and no interest. Foreign currency time deposit can be converted into Philippine peso deposit, but interest is subject to withholding tax. Okay, so if you deposit your money there, and if it has an interest, that one is needed to be taxed. One of the benefits also, if you are an SRRB, is that exemption fund, Philippine Bureau of Immigration card annual report, custom duty taxes for one-time importation, household personal effect up to $7,000. So we already discussed the travel tax here. So you can also study. You can also have a study permit by having the SRR visa. So you can also have a discount from PRE accredited merchant partners, free assistance in transacting with other government agency, and you are also entitled to PhilHealth benefits and privileges. PhilHealth is a healthcare system that we have in the Philippines. So the requirements for applying for SRRV are the complete Philippine Retirement Authority application form, valid passport, DFA medical form number 11, certification by PRA shortlisted bank of the requisite deposit in the following categories. So these are the stuff that I just mentioned earlier about the deposit needed to be able to avail this program. So I'll just put it on the screen below so that you can actually just look at it, and you can pause the video so that you'll be able to read it really clearly. You have to have the police clearance, photographs, and you have to have the marriage certificate if you are joining with the spouse with this application, and also the birth certificate of your dependent if you have your dependents. So I just want you to know, guys, that SRRV is currently on hold or suspended in the beginning of October 23, 2020. So I'll just have the link below of the website for SRRV just in case it comes back. So right now, if you are doing this visa application, after the COVID thing, if you are planning to apply for SRRV, you cannot do until it comes back, because as of today, it is suspended as of October 23, 2020. So you have the Balikbayan visa as of now and the 13A permanent residence visa as an option. But as the times goes by and this comes back, I'll just put the link of the website down below for you to check, you know, in the update of the SRRV visa. So one disadvantage that I can see about the SRRV visa is you have to have an annual fee of $360. So this is a lot. You have to pay this yearly. And you have to have a PRA ID card, which sometimes you have to renew. So aside from that, that's the only disadvantage it has as an SRRV holder in the Philippines. With the 13A visa, that would be, I think, the best choice I would take if I'm the one migrating in the Philippines. But I am a Filipino citizen also, so I don't need to do any visa when I come back to the Philippines. But this is for your spouse, so whenever you are planning to retire in the Philippines. Aside from that, guys, I hope this is helpful. Let me know your options of your visa in the Philippines. I will see you next time.